Alright everyone, hello and welcome to the SMITE Khepri guide. Now this is Conquest. I've decided to extend this out 2 more videos because they did just do a somewhat substantial adjustment to a couple of items. For example, for the purposes of Guardians, the big change here is the decrease in gold that the Gilded Arrow provides and all of its evolutions. I don't think this is really going to affect how much people build that, but that's theoretically less crit builds that you're going to see. Not that that matters a huge deal to supports, because you can just build spectral armor and continue to pray for your salvation. Otherwise, Executioner getting a small attack speed reduction will be interesting to see if that changes people's minds on that particular... Oops, I didn't lock in here. Change people's minds on building that quite as often. I don't think it's a substantial enough change. I think they probably should have nerfed it very slightly to 4 stacks with 5%, making it round out to 20% reduction, which is fairly reasonable in terms of all things, or even down to 15%, because you do get that total benefit, and then you would have to decide, do I want the 15%? Actually, no, 20% would be fine, because while the whole team would benefit from the 20% reduction, you would be doing less damage to towers, so that would be fine. Let's see, hold on, we gotta actually talk about stuff. Okay, so all 3, I expect there's gonna be a lot of healing here, but do I care enough? No, we're gonna go with Sentinel's Gift. Sun Wukong's healing is very specific, it's an ult as well, so I think ultimately we're not really gonna see that come into play here as much. We're gonna go right into Gauntlet of Thebes, we're gonna go into Hog, and we're gonna go into Healing Potion. Bit of a slightly standard build here. Now, be aware of the fact that as a support, you are intended to at least somewhat die for your team, and Ares will be a large amount of that death. Ares is fairly interesting to play against as a support, because Ares is kind of designed to do well against enemy supports. He has a percentage of health, a percentage of max health attack in his fire, and so he tends to be able to shred through fellow Guardians much more efficiently than any competing Guardian can. So...
Hi.
Also, for the jungling Janus, this is actually a really strong strat that actually works out fairly well. He's a pretty good jungler if you play and build him right. You have to play a bit cautiously in the beginning with the jungling Janus. You really don't want to be boxing until you're like at least level 5. But that's about all you need to watch out for. There we go. And we're just going to run right over here. And... now you may be wondering why I went with, very specifically, Rising Dawn and maybe not Abduct. It's because right at the start we're going to want to be pretty aggressive on clearing the wave. They do have Freya, her wave clear isn't exactly fantastic, so pushing this advantage will give me the advantage I need to get Abduct fast enough to make a difference. We're going to leave that one alone though. I have a health potion up, so it doesn't really make a huge difference. What is somewhat problematic, actually no, not really, I was going to say this is going to be a bit of a problem with Freya, but it's really not going to be too much of a difference there. So, I'm not overall that concerned. I don't really mind that the enemy is right there. We can just play this a little bit safe on our half of the field. I don't think we're going to have that much of a problem. Okay, and then we're just going to... that was a good play. Now I'm going to leave that alone. I don't know what the situation is with the enemy jungler. There, he's back. Okay. We fell a little behind in wave clear. Alright, you're going to be pretty aggressive about this. But I have my shell up. And you're being way too aggressive with this. What the heck, guy? Interesting. Very interesting. He pushed that too hard. That's fine. He's going to push it again. That was a really good shot on my part. I'm going to play this a little safe here. She's almost out of mana as well. No, not yet. I have 25 seconds of health potion that I can run here. I'm not really that concerned about it. Good. really didn't need to hit both of them there, but it did make them think a little bit. They hesitated. It meant ultimately nothing, but it did actually... No, well, they went back and cleared up the, Did they think that there is, that Janus is coming in? Okay, that's his chains down. Her beads down. Okay, that's his shell. That's fine. We got a lot out of that. We got her beads, his shell. So that was pretty good. Do we want to... Yeah, I think we can. He's dead. I knew he was dead. Ooh, that was a good shot. I'm gonna chase her all the way back. Okay. We need to get out of here. We don't have the mana for this. Okay, which enemy? We can take this. This isn't going to be really a big problem. I still have my shell up. I have not used that. I have not needed to use that. I am back at full health. Well, nearly so, but... There's Ares back. That's fine. I also have enough for Gauntlet of Thebes when I want to grab that, which is quite useful. Now, this is actually one of the few scenarios in which I will say, if you are a support and you're facing Ares, go ahead and be a little bit greedy at the beginning when you're still doing damage. I would say up until level 15, don't be afraid of grabbing a kill if you can. Like, don't steal it from an ally who can get it, but that Ares kill was very obviously not going to be grabbed by Danzaburou at all. That was a good play by him. He played that very smart. But Danzaburou was very definitely not getting that kill, so me picking that up was fine. But if you see a situation like that and you're like, well, it's kind of risky, I mean, late game, if you don't go for these risks, you're going to wind up regretting it anyways. I mean, against Ares as a support, you kind of have to take risks. Right now I'm ahead of Ares, which is pretty huge. So it's going to be nice for me later on. It's going to help me do a little bit better against him in the late game. And you may be thinking, well, a higher level means more HP, and his fire is just going to do whatever. Yes, but I will also have more money with which... This is a waste of their time. I have my ult up. And I just get healed, and I still have my shell, by the way. And there we are. I mean, they just used at least his ult. Ares' ult is down, so that's pretty much free. That was great. That was an absolutely silly move for him to make. I didn't notice the Freya using her ult. I don't know when she used it. That must have been when I was trying to get back under tower. I'm not sure. I did not see her use that, so I really couldn't tell you when that happened. We have a rotation by Tiamat, which is fairly interesting. I mean, yes, she picked up the kill. Janus is there to cover. That's good. Okay, so we lose nothing, then that's fine. Now the question is Nuwa rotating over? That's kind of what we need to think about right now. Freya's going to be just stuck under tower for a bit. And you're looking for... Yeah, you're going to be looking for the Scorpion. Which is a good choice here. They're absolutely not going to be pushing this up. What are you building? Okay, you have a little bit of lifesteal, but not that much. That's fine. You want to push this? Okay. I don't know where Ares is right now, so that's fine. He doesn't have that high up enough level. That's a useless chase. You don't need to chase that far. We should probably go grab... Actually, I need to stay here and kind of grab some assist here. I need these stacks. These fat stacks. We're just going to chill here and let him take these. We don't want to accidentally steal one of these because it loses us a stack. There we go. Danzaburou is going back for some reason. Okay, everyone's going back for some reason. I guess I might as well, because there's nothing else I can do here. No, wait, I could theoretically... No, there's a gank right there. I didn't realize Tsukuyomi was right there. He's probably going to come this way, honestly. No, there he goes. Okay. I'll cover mid lane. At this particular point, Danzaburou is ahead of Freya, and we want him to stay now and farm that up. So I am going to leave lane at this point. If I stayed in lane, I would only be nerfing him. He's very slightly ahead of Freya. But given his ult compared to hers, I think he can ultimately win a lot of the fights they have if he plays right.
Help.
Oh, that was badly timed.
Come on and hit me.
He's going to go to the right here. Because he wants to get away with Nuwa. I don't exactly know what Tiamat is doing. Wow, that was an interesting blink. Nice. Why? Oh, because there's no minions down there. I got some delicious...
Attack middle tower.
Okay, so Ares is still over in left lane. Or he was. That's interesting. I'm just going to chill here and provide the shield. Probably do some slaps here. I'd start that a little early. Good, that's an under 10-minute tier 1, so that's pretty significant. That's very demoralizing, so that's going to be nice. Why are we pinging? Oh, we're going to gank Freya? She just ulted. He's a higher level by 2 levels. He's 2 levels ahead. The reason he's 2 levels ahead is Ares was over there, apparently. I've got a Tsukuyomi here. Is anyone concerned? I got a lot of people behind me. I am not in a good position here. I'm going to try to stall out for my ult, but I'm not going to make this, I don't think. No, I did not. That's fine. They picked up Freya, which is more important. Looks like they picked up Ares, they picked up Tsukuyomi. So for my death, they picked up 3 people. Easy trade. Absolutely fantastic trade. We want that every day of the week. Now, what boots does Ares have? Okay, Ares has that. I'm going to see if I can keep the pressure on by out-rotating him, because that's really going to be... I really don't want to be in the same lane as Ares at this point. In all honesty, I'm only 1 level ahead of him. It's a bit of an advantage, but I don't want to be in the same lane as him. That is just going to mean my death, ultimately. I'm going to see if I can help team out over here. But, yeah, we're really not looking to be in the same lane as Ares. That's just bad for our health. So we are... Okay, he went back, so I'm going to see if I can push down this mid wave and then go towards solo and see if I can do something about that. No, I'm going to be too late on that, I think. Yeah, Janus should have gone over there a little bit faster. It looks like Tiamat pushed up the wave just enough to take the tower. Nah, very close, though. Are we doing anything in right lane? No? Alright. I might as well gank Ares then. The problem is that by the time I can get to a location, I really can't help. That's her beads. I have absolutely no idea what Ares thinks he's doing. Excellent. And I got the assist for that, which is nice. I don't... There's Ares. What are you doing, guy? What is this? Bellona is on her way back, so that's nice, at least. Tsukuyomi is in here. This is going to go badly.
Ultimate is ready.
Yeah, so is mine, but I don't think this is a good fight. Like 3 are in the right jungle. We need to indicate this. Alright, so they need me in mid. Bellona doesn't need me right now. I helped out with the wave a little bit, so that'll give her the advantage in that fight. But beyond that... Okay, there goes him. Tsukuyomi. Let's see if we can't take Nuwa. There we go.
Well fought.
Okay, we need to get out of here. Can we take the Harpy, though? I guess you don't want the Harpies? I would have gotten the Harpies first because it's closer to the enemies. That would have been the higher risk grab, so while we still had a little bit of time, we could have gotten that. Oh yeah, I forgot you absorbed that. We're not going to increase our ult yet because it's really not necessarily what we need right away. Abduct right now is going to be more useful because the Ares, it'll keep the Nuwa from exploding her minions. It can keep Sun Wukong from self-healing. It can keep Tsukuyomi from doing a lot of things. The enemy team comp is relatively ability-based. While the Nuwa can ultimately root people with her auto attacks, that's not going to really make a huge difference there. Okay, interesting response. I whiffed that completely, but that's fine. You are very aggressive about this. Yeah? What are you gonna do about it now, huh? And then you're dead. And then I'm dead. But that's okay. I'm still ahead of the Ares, which is all that matters right now. So what we're gonna do next is, normally we would really want to emphasize a lot of HP, but Ares makes that somewhat risky. So the next plan of action here would be... We do need some anti-heal, because they're clearly building enough anti-heal to make that worth it. I'm sorry, they're building enough lifesteal to make that worth it. So, we'll probably go with Pestilence, because right now, they have 3 magic damage sources. Freya hits like a steam engine, you have Nuwa who can hit pretty hard, and of course Ares is going to hit decently hard as well. If we build Pestilence now, we can take mostly only the HP damage from my boy there. So that'll be really nice. The fact that we have a problem, we have just a problem in all the lanes right now except for left. We're going to go ahead and do this, hit them with that, and theoretically speaking that'll be fine there. I'm going to go defend right lane because it looks like Sun Wukong is going to push that, which is fairly interesting. Take care of that little issue. Keep going for the abduct, because the only person we don't want to be abducting will be Freya. That would be dangerous, at least until I get Pestilence online. Alright, I'm going to loop around and see if I can grab myself a spicy little slap on Sun Wukong. This is interesting. He's ulting Tiamat. Yeah, we need to gank mid. Oh wow, everyone's over here. Oh wow, alright. Ult out of that just so we don't die. Okay, there's Ares' ult. That's Sun Wukong dead. That's because he used his ult prematurely. That's Freya dead. Good. Let's see what else we got here. So we have these two. Where's Tsukuyomi? He kind of vanished off the face of the earth, and I'm not sure where he went. It's kind of nervous. Makes me nervous. Okay, there's Tsukuyomi. That's what I needed to know. That's what I needed to know. Nope. I was hoping he'd turn around and look. Okay, now that we have Abduct full, we're going to go ahead and go for the ult now, because that is going to be pretty important. That increases the amount of health that is regened whenever you die. I activated that way too late. What the heck? Interesting. I don't need to be tanking this. There's no one taking that right now. That was pretty spicy. That was a really great grab. Totally saved his life there. Very nice. Very nice. Oh, we still have Ares here. I did not realize this, and this is trouble. Can we just straight take the tower really quick so I don't die? No? That's okay. That's okay. It's very close. We still took Ares. We did not take Ares. Janus is being way too aggressive. He's gonna get... Yeah. Danzabaru, I think, feels bad that I died with the tower, but it's fine. The tower is worth more because it's a permanently gone structure, and I come back, so it's kind of like whatever at this point. Now, for the physical protections, I have a couple of options here, but I think ultimately what I'm going to want to do is I could build Witchblade. I'm not sure that's necessarily going to be that meaningful overall. It would help against Freya, but I don't think Tsukuyomi is... No, he's not building for autos, he's building for abilities. Okay. Mystical Mail? Maybe? That would really help against Nuwa's minions, to be honest. As well as... Yeah, we'll go with Mystical Mail. Primarily because that'll really help us clear Nuwa's minions a little bit quicker if we really need to. the situation has arisen where I've been able to clear those decently fast with Mystical Mail, as well as being able to do some decent damage to enemies with Abduct, obviously. So that's fairly nice.
On my way.
We're just gonna go and gank Sun Wukong. Alright, I'm gonna see if I can cut him off ahead of time, because they're not gonna need me to pin him down early on. They're gonna need me to pin him down after the fact. They are coming over, though. They must realize he's out of position. Rather badly. Oh, he's just farming. The Tsukuyomi is just getting his jungle farm. And then he's gonna go ahead and use his ult immediately. Alright. We're just gonna go ahead and pick him up when he comes over here, because he's going to. And he's just dead.
Well, thanks.
There's... Oh, we're going ham on someone. Nuwa, huh? Alright. Got her. I got her. Okay. Where did she go? Oh, I got pulled way far away. Hello. Good thing Janus was paying attention, because holy cow, I got totally disoriented by that. There we go. We should probably take fire. We don't have quite as much ward coverage for this as I'd like. You'll notice that there's the ward on the left there. I would have liked one on the right, but that's not hugely important. Good. I was kind of concerned Freya would try ulting that. That was about the only concern there. Tsukuyomi wasn't going to be that much of a concern. Gonna be honest. His ult doesn't usually hit the Titan that hard. Not Titan, the Fire Giant that hard, so really the big problem was going to potentially be the Freya ulting the Titan and us losing it due to the Freya ult. I've seen it before. If she times it right and she's built right, which she has not built right,
Ultimate is down.
then that could have been a problem. She is not built correctly for that, though, so I was worried for nothing. I missed that. That was a shame. And I'm probably dead here, but... No, I'm not. They don't hit hard enough anymore. They are clearly not building the penetrations they need. Okay. I hear Danzaburu's ult coming in. Alright. Yeah, they must have no pen. They're not really hitting me that hard. I'll have to check when I have a moment. Obviously, I can't check now. It's too hot right now. But I need to check what their penetration is like, because I'm taking surprisingly little damage. Yeah, I can hold them here for about a minute, maybe. I would estimate. If I was really trying. No, they're backing off. Some of them are backing off. They're still kind of keeping an eye on this. I want to see if they actually stick with this here. Uh-huh. That's right.
On my way.
Okay, he killed me, but I think Team Mac can pick that up. Yep, okay. That's fine. Team Mac picks up 2 for me. Janus dies unnecessarily in the background. That's alright. It happens. That's Tsukuyomi's job, let's be really honest. He's playing correctly. Alright, so penetration. Tsukuyomi has 10 flat. Sun Wukong has 10% with a 15% reduction. Freya has demonic grip, but she wasn't right there at that particular moment. Nuwa has 20%. Yeah, they don't have bad penetration. They should have been doing more than what they were. I don't really understand why that was such a problem. This isn't what I need, though.
Not bad.
No, we're gonna do... Hold on. We're actually gonna go with Midgardian Mail, I think. Because they do have some amount of auto attacks. I want to see where my physical protections go at that point. My next move will very likely be... That's a good question. I kind of want to build Spear the Magus or Divine Ruin here. Divine Ruin might be this... I'll build a Divine Ruin really quick. I want to build in some of that anti-heal. I know it doesn't give me any protections or health, but at this particular junction, I do want more backup Divine Ruin, because I don't really think... Yeah, I was correct. I don't see any anti-heal built in anyone else. No one's built Divine Ruin. No one's built any other kind of anti-heal. So it does fall to me to completely handle this situation. I thought I had seen earlier when I was checking the enemy build that we had no anti-heal, but I wasn't 100% sure because that wasn't what I was specifically checking for. But no, we don't have... I am the only person on this team in possession of anti-heal. Yeah, that's fine. How you doing? Blink on a Guardian is so incredibly powerful.
On my way.
Finsbury, you don't need to tank this, my child. We have minions now, there we go. Go ahead, take me. I missed everything. There we go. Ah, yeah, I'd like to not die right now, thank you. The Tsukuyomi has clearly given up on the whole McCoy. I'm dead. I am not dead, she has not enough penetration. Okay. Then we take it. Alright, that was fairly messy, so we're gonna need to do some breakdown of that. That was quite the messy little situation there. So, okay, there's a lot to dismantle with this game. So, first off, commend everyone, because everyone did a great job there. That was fantastic. Now, our team, interestingly enough, did not make very many mistakes. I missed some abilities in the late game, but none of them were vitally important for me to hit, so that didn't really matter much. My early game was pretty on point. The Ares, I think, was too free with his ult overall. Gameplay-wise, that's my only criticism of Ares. The actual use of his regular kit, Sun Z, did really well with. It was just the ult was a little too frequently used. That should have been saved for a little bit more situations, like with that very first ult that Ares used, which pulled just me when I still had my ult up. That was an absolutely terrible, terrible ult. Now, I can understand... See, Ares' build itself isn't bad, especially considering our team comp was magic heavy. We had 3 magic, 2 physical. Going into Sentinel's Gift, obviously, for the sustain, same thing as me. We had Shoes of Focus. Now, unlike with Khepri, who isn't really that high of a damage dealer, isn't that aggressive of a Guardian in the early game, Khepri really gets aggressive later on when he's got the health to provide himself with a big shield. Ares wants some really quick early damage, and Shoes provides that. Now, Ares chose Shoes of Focus here, which is actually the best shoe, really, for Ares. Some people will say Shoes of the Shoes of the Magi. Thank you, me, for pronouncing. But Shoes of the Magi, the problem I personally have with that is that Ares' damage is 100% in his abilities, so it makes more sense to have the cooldown reduction from Shoes of Focus. That's just a personal opinion. Shoes of the Magi does work very well on Ares. It's just that I personally prefer the cooldown from Shoes of Focus over the very small amount of lifesteal you get from Magi. Then Gauntlet of Thebes. This is an aura. Great pick for Ares. Now, the Pridwin was interesting. I think Ares built this too early. Now, obviously, Ares built this for the 20% cooldown reduction. That's very obvious why Pridwin was picked up. They're having a whole separate conversation that I'm going to get into otherwise. But Pridwin was built too early. I say this because even though it provides great cooldown reduction, it only provides 30 of each protection, which is not much in either direction. Yes, he already had Gauntlet of Thebes, but at that time he didn't have Gauntlet of Thebes evolved when he started working on this. And furthermore, the passive of Pridwin, first off, is not an aura. Now that doesn't mean that you should never build Pridwin on Ares. Ares actually plays very well with Pridwin because his second ability, which I can't remember the name was, I think it's Bolster Defenses. That increases, obviously, the protections of all nearby allies, including Ares. So Pridwin will do more damage if you use bolster defense right before you ult, which often you will have time for. Not always, you have to be careful with that, but usually you'll have time to use bolster defenses because it only takes 2 seconds for the animation. And then you ult, and then Pridwin's doing a little bit more damage. And Pridwin works great on areas besides because you have them all clustered there, you do your triple chains, you lock down at least 3 of them, and Pridwin is slamming them very hard. The problem I have here is that when Ares built Pridwin, Gauntlet wasn't evolved. And he didn't really have a whole lot of protections at that point. He wasn't level 20, so he didn't have his natural max protections. He didn't have Gauntlet of Thebes evolved. He really didn't have the protections that he would need to make Pridwin work really well. It was just too early. If he wanted cooldown reduction that early, probably Genji's Guard would have been a great first pick. He was obviously going into Pestilence, as I did right afterwards. But this Pridwin, the Pridwin itself isn't the problem. It's when Ares built a Pridwin. It was too early for it to mean anything. He was just building it basically for the cooldown reduction and some slight protections, and he would get more protections at, I believe, a lower cost with Breastplate of Valor. I'm gonna be really honest. So that's really my only criticism of Ares. Ares just ulted too frequently in terrible situations. The first one obviously was the most obvious, but there was also the situation where he ulted me at the end. He solo ulted me. Again, I had my ult up. I mean, back when I died and Tiamat picked up, I think, 2 or 3 kills in the right lane at Phoenix, yeah, that was a terrible ult for Ares. He shouldn't have ulted there. And then he ulted again a second time later on. That was fine because he actually grabbed some other people. That was an okay ult. But there were a couple of moments where Ares solo ulted me, the enemy support, the last person he needed to be concerned about, in all honesty. So, the ult usage was somewhat questionable, and Pridwin was built too early. So Sun Wukong, as Sun Wukong actually mentioned here, is fantastic. Now, first off, the reason why the Bellona did so bad in the early game is because Sun Wukong versus Bellona is a terrible matchup for Bellona. Primarily because Sun Wukong's dash can interrupt Bellona's major wave clear, which is the hammer swing. So, first off, one of her only 2 wave clear abilities is just straight gone. Second off, as Sun Wukong actually pointed out, Reinforced Greaves plus enemy Mannequin Scepter means you're carrying on this increased protections very consistently. Now, if Ares wanted to build Pridwin at this point, then Shoes of Focus should have been Reinforced Greaves or Reinforced Shoes, and then from there, utilize that to bolster the Pridwin at least a little bit. Would it have been much better? Not much, no. It would have been very slightly better, and even then, Ares would have lost a lot of early game punch that Ares wants to have, so it would have been a questionable decision either way. But yeah, Mannequins kept the Reinforced Greaves going. Now, I understand why Bellona built Mannequin Scepter here. I don't have a problem with Mannequin Scepter on Bellona. Mannequin Scepter is really good on Bellona. The problem here, pardon me, small tickle. The problem here was actually not necessarily Mannequin Scepter itself, but the greater context. Now, I understand that Bellona was probably looking at the Nuwa, looking at the Freya, looking at the Tsukuyomi, potentially, and saying, well, this might be really good, we have physical protection as well, that'll help me against the solo laner, that's fine. That's all understandable, but knowing that your laning opponent is Sun Wukong, it might have been better to go Tainted Steel, get a little bit of protections, especially since they had 3 magic, so the Tainted Steel could have been converted into extra physical or magical protections Bellona needed, but Tainted Steel to kind of nerf Sun Wukong's ultimate, and Tainted Steel would have also really helped against the Evolved Soul Eater. Now, Bellona could not possibly have known that Sun Wukong was going to build Evolved Soul Eater, but I think Tainted Steel would have been a better pickup here, because it means more against Sun Wukong. It would have done really well against Freya. It probably would have done really well against Tsukuyomi. Tsukuyomi didn't wind up building any lifesteal, and I don't think Tsukuyomi has that much from his passive, I believe it is. But it still would have done at least a little bit against Tsukuyomi, so I think Tainted Steel would have been the better pickup here. Otherwise, the build is fine. Berserker's Shield was a really great choice, considering mannequins. If Bellona had built Tainted Steel instead, this could have been possibly Glad Shield, maybe, or Void Shield would have been another great pick. Berserker's Shield, in the context of mannequins, makes a lot of sense. Hastened Katana, again in the context of mannequins, makes a lot of sense. The build itself isn't bad. The problem is that Bellona's landing opponent was Sun Wukong, who didn't care, basically. Sun Wukong's build itself is pretty good. I personally... I'm kind of sketchy about Soul Eater. Sometimes it really works, sometimes it really doesn't, and considering how much lifesteal was already going to be present, this was something of a risky pickup here. You had Freya, who obviously was going to be doing a lot of lifesteal. Tsukuyomi has some lifesteal built into his kit. So building Evolved Soul Eater was a bit of a risky play. Did it pay off? Overall, I'd have to say kind of, but that's really up to personal opinion at this point. The rest of the build was fine. Glide Shield, fantastic on Sun Wukong. When your passive triggers, you get extra physical and magical protections, which means Glide Shield hits a little harder. The Delicious Void Shield, always a good pickup. Angele, or however you want to pronounce this, there's different opinions on that, but Angele was not a bad pickup. The problem really is that Angele doesn't really provide the kind of magic protections Sun Wukong, I think, needed, really, and I think Sun Wukong fell off in the late game as a result of that. That's only 30 magic protections, and in total, Sun Wukong only had, 70 magic protections against a Tiamat and a jungling Janus. Not enough magic protections there. If Sun Wukong wanted to maintain his damage output and still have some decent magic defense, Runic Shield would have been a better pickup here. 50 magic protections. Granted, it's only, I believe, 30 power and 50 magic protections, so they kind of reverse that. No cooldown, which is a little unfortunate, but the passive, which reduces the enemy magic power by, I think, 40, would have done at least Sun Wukong a little more good than Angele. So, I do suggest that maybe Runic Shield against our team comp. Now, if we had a normal 2-magic team comp, where we have a mage in the mid lane, obviously the magic support, we had a physical jungler rather than the magic jungler, Angele would have been fine. But I think this should have been adapted into a Runic Shield once Sun Wukong recognized, hey, they've got 3 sources of magic damage. Now, technically, obviously, Khepri barely counts, but we had a magic jungle, so Angele wasn't going to provide the protections that Sun Wukong needed. This would be the only thing I would say Sun Wukong made a mistake on here, was Angele at the end. That should have been Runic Shield, at least in terms of maintaining damage output. Probably an even better pickup would have been Genji's Guard. The Nuwa built fine, the ever-popular Charon's Coin early game, that's fine. Overall, Nuwa's build was okay. The Soul Gem mid-game was interesting. Not a bad pick, but not a great one either. It really depends. It triggers well. It combos well with the ultimate. Divine Ruin, of course, because we had a fairly decent amount of self-healing on the team. We have Danzaburg, we had Bellona, and that was about it. Tiamat built lifesteal very late. Janus didn't build any lifesteal at all, and frankly, Bellona barely built any lifesteal by the end of the game, so this was actually something of a reactionary pickup, I think. Desperation move. I don't know what this was going to be. It could have been anything, honestly. The Freya issue. That's tougher to decide, because theoretically speaking, Freya should not have done this badly. And Freya didn't build that badly either. I think that Freya should have built Hastened Ring instead of the Demonic Grip first. I think building Demonic Grip fourth is a little bit aggressive. Usually you don't need that much magic protection reduction mid-game. You're going to want to save that for the late game, so maybe Hastened Ring would have done more for her. Personal opinion, Demonic Grip is fine, but I do suggest maybe Hastened Ring would have been a little bit better at this point, and then do Demonic Grip afterwards, personally. Now, it basically comes down to the serious question of how did Freya do this bad? And what it essentially comes down to is that Danzaburg is very good against enemy ADCs who cannot escape. Once Danzaburg hit level 5, Freya was in trouble, because Danzaburg could throw the Saki to pull her attacks, shoot her while that's happening. She can't escape because she has no escape except her ult, which has a long enough cooldown where one normally hesitates to use that as an escape. Danzaburg's ult, frankly, is more effective because it is a large amount of damage and a stun, so even if Freya survived the initial impact, Danzaburg could just shoot her to death. Overall, It was simply a bad matchup. I think it just comes down to a very bad matchup, and I think the Freya maybe not being as experienced a player as Danzaburou showed a lot of expertise throughout the game, a lot of knowledge of how to move and how to juke really well. That was especially evident in the late game there, where I thought for sure Danzaburou was going to die, but they didn't. Also, there was a fight in the left lane at mid-game where Danzaburou survived, where I didn't think they were going to. So Danzaburou definitely had a stronger, well, I would say a stronger grasp on the game, but definitely had more experience playing than the Freya did. The Freya felt newer. I don't know if that's true. I could examine the profile. I'm not going to. That's kind of invasive. But it's either the player was newer to the game or new to Freya specifically. One of the two. I'm kind of leaning more towards being new to Freya specifically, but that's just something I'm speculating on. Tsukuyomi did alright. I do somewhat wonder about the Jotun's Wrath as a early pickup. I mean, it is a fine item, especially now that it does 50 physical power instead of 40, but I would have, it overall worked out really well. But see, the problem here is that building Jotun's Wrath compared to a jungling Janus, Tsukuyomi needed to put on some speed very quickly, and granted there aren't a whole lot of methods of doing, increasing your speed, but I think a really good pickup would have been the Serrated Edge, which provides a little bit of extra movement speed, provides some physical percentage penetration, which would have lasted throughout the game quite well, and then build Jotun's Wrath into late game, because Tsukuyomi's main problem here in the late game was no penetration. There was the flat 10 here and diddly squat else. This was probably going to be Heartseeker, which would have been 10%, but that still wouldn't have been enough penetration. I was taking basically nothing from Tsukuyomi. Actually, I don't know many members of our team who were taking that much damage from Tsukuyomi once Hydra's Lament wore off. There wasn't any penetration there. And that's what that comes down to, really. I do believe that a stronger pickup, especially considering an enemy Janus jungle, would have been the Serrated Edge. Get a little bit of movement speed, get some percentage penetration in there, 20% online, really nice. Get some lifesteal in there to sustain better, which would have really helped. Tsukuyomi could have made a couple of more extra rotations, possibly, with Serrated Edge, and I think overall Serrated Edge, while a little bit more expensive, obviously, would have been a stronger pick here. The Tiamat and the Janus, they built fine. I am somewhat interested in Janus' choice of Rod of Tahuti. Early game, yes, it worked out, but I would have preferred Charon's Coin first, then Rod of Tahuti, and even then, I'm not a huge fan of Rod of Tahuti on Janus either. That's just a personal preference. I'm aware that Rod of Tahuti is absolutely massively powerful right now. I'm aware of that. It's just a personal preference. I find it very expensive to build this early. Tiamat saved it up for last, which is, I think, a much better time to build this. So, overall, and especially since you're not really gaining that much additional magic power in the early game anyways, so building a third is just a little bit silly. Besides its great cost, it's not quite as effective as it will be later on in the game. So I think Charon's Coin would have been a stronger pick, get a little bit more movement speed on there, get some nice sustain. Did the Janus play well? Yes. But the Janus played well not only because the Janus is just a great jungler, but because the Tsukuyomi built very badly and didn't adapt to the Janus jungle like probably they should have. So that's really what I'm going to say about this match. Thank you all very much for joining me. If you liked this, please like and subscribe. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, suggestions, ideas, what have you, please leave them down in the comments below. And thank you all very much for joining me.